Hi everyone! Just gonna wait for Chloe to come on and then I'll add her into the chat. Let's see if I can do that now. There. We had a little practice yesterday, and because she's based in America, it did have a little bit of a lag, so we're hoping today we should be okay with that. So let's see if we can get her added in.
Yay! We figured it out. Oh, you're cutting out a little bit. Let's see here. Say something again.
Everyone.
Let me see if I can connect through a different Wi-Fi. 1 second. Okay, how about now?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, that's a little bit better. You cut out a little bit, but I can still hear you. Yeah.
I'll let you do it.
I'm still not hearing you very well. Let me try 1 second. Okay, here we go.
Okay, cool.
Okay, that sounds way better. Great.
Yeah, perfect.
Awesome. Well, hi.
So, hi everyone. This is a big Clo Bare telling you all about all the way from America.
Chicago.
So, thank you for today. We're going to talk about yeah. I'm just wondering, sound off. I can hear an echo. Try now. Okay, cool.
Thanks for everybody for bearing with our technical difficulties.
That's it. We're here now. We're both live. It's good.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool. So we wanted to talk to you tonight about body confidence, and I was really eager to get Chloe on because she is a blogger she has her own mental health blog, which is awesome because she shares all her stories and she's totally open and honest about everything she's been through. And maybe it'd be better than for me to tell everyone about it. Maybe you want to tell them a little bit about what you blog about and a little bit about your story.
Yeah, sure. So I started blogging about 1.5 years ago, although I've always been in the blogging world doing little bits of blogs about travels and things like that. But the reason that I decided to start the blog that I have right now happened about 1.5 years ago after kind of a couple of years of struggling with my mental health. And a lot of the struggle, I was struggling pretty deeply in 2017. And one of the things that I decided to do, and I kept thinking, well, maybe if I just lose a bit of weight, everything will get better. Maybe my relationship will improve. Maybe I'll have some purpose in life. Maybe, all those things that I feel like the diet and fitness industry likes to sell us and say, like, well, what's actually wrong is you really just need to lose those 10 pounds. And so I bought fully into that. And I'd say from like January to July of 2017, I was just experimenting with all these different diets and really beating myself up and going to the gym specifically, like just for the purpose to change my body instead of enjoying movement. And it got to the point where in September 2017, I was at the gym and I caught an unflattering view of myself in one of the many mirrors. And immediately the thoughts just hit me in the face, and it was just like, oh my God, you're disgusting. Oh my God, what are you doing here? Oh my God, you're such a disappointment. Why are and it was just one on top of the other and other. And the thing about that is when you're in the diet and industry bubble, you think, well, just use that as motivation to keep going and try harder. And so I stayed at the gym, even though I was like internally battling this anxiety of like, oh, why am I here? And those thoughts just kept getting worse and meaner until it finally got to the point where it was like, you're worthless, you're not valuable, you should probably just kill yourself. And so I had to leave, obviously. But that was a breaking point for me, because the only way I was able to get back down to earth was to repeat to myself, you are not worthless. You are not worthless, over and over and over again, until I could calm down enough to drive home. That was a really big changing point for me, where it was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to feel this way. Like, I don't want to die someday wishing that I just lost 20 pounds or something along those lines. And so I started reading, doing all the self-care stuff. I quit the gym. I stopped dieting. And one of the books that actually inspired me to start was called You're a Badass by Jensen Farrell. And I highly recommend everybody read it. It was actually life-changing for me. And it was just kind of like, you know what, like, there's stuff that you want to do, and just do it. And I had been wanting to start a blog for a while, and I decided to start it like within a week of that happening. And I also at the same time started going back to therapy and found a new therapist in Chicago. And I just started writing about the stuff that scared me, and writing about the stuff that ultimately is hard to talk about, like mental health, like therapy, like the diet and fitness industry, and all of that stuff. And so I kept going, and now it is what it is. And it's really wonderful to be able to connect with people like you.
Thank you. I just absolutely love the fact that you've been so honest about that, because I think people get into that place in their minds where they are seeing so much of what's going on around them, and they really start to feel judged by everyone else. And did you find your friends and family sort of were supportive of you at that point, or do you feel like you're completely isolated on your own?
You mean before I started the blog or after I started the blog?
Yeah, well, both.
Well, I think that was part of the reason that I started the blog, is that I felt really alone in the struggles that I was dealing with. And even though logically I knew I wasn't alone, like I know a lot of people struggle with the same things that I struggle with, I still just didn't have necessarily an outlet to connect with other people who are struggling with the same things. So my family's always been supportive, even though they don't always understand. So, no one else in my family has struggled with things like, well, that's not true. Some members of my family have struggled with things, just not openly and honestly in the same way that I can kind of, be like that. But when I started the blog, my siblings were very supportive. My parents, they're supportive as well. So I definitely feel lucky in that everybody just kind of like, yeah, that's just Chloe. She's over there with her blog. And so it's nice, but, it definitely made me feel less alone, just even with the people who I would have never known struggled with some of the things that I was writing about, would reach out and talk to me about them.
And when you started your blog, did you find it a little bit scary, the thought that you were going to completely put yourself out there, and were you scared of judgment? Or?
Yeah, of course. Well, especially I have a job, I have a full-time job, and I, at first I was trying to hide it from the people that I worked with, because I didn't want to be judged for, the struggles that I was writing about. And, but at the same time, I really didn't want to not write about the things that I wanted to write about. And so funnily enough, the very first time that I went to post a link to my blog, I posted it on my Facebook page, but I tried to filter out everybody I worked with, and it didn't work. It immediately shared with everyone, and and people started liking it from my job, and then everybody ended up being really, really supportive. And it was a blessing in disguise, because, I'd go into work and people would be like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that you struggled with these things. And thank you for writing about it, because, I struggle with that stuff too. And knowing that you struggle with it makes me feel so much better. And, now I can talk to you about it. So it was definitely scary. And it's gotten I'm hesitant to say that it's gotten less scary, because it's scary every single time I post something super personal. Like that photo, that was scary. But what I've gotten better at is saying, yeah, fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway. And like that photo, for example, it's not that it's less scary. It's just that I'm getting better at seeing those thoughts as the scared thoughts and saying, thanks for your opinion, but I'm going to go ahead and do this.
Yeah. And for those of you that don't know, one of the things, although I've followed Chloe for a long time, one of the things that really struck me recently was when she posted a photo and she was completely naked. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I found someone who's so confident in themselves that they feel happy to do that and really put themselves out there. And there's obviously no fear of judgment. And then talking to Chloe last night, she was like, that's not true. It made me think. So what did you think when I said to you last night about the confidence?
Yeah. It was funny because when you reached out to me, you were like, oh my gosh, you're so confident to post a photo like that. And I was like, I didn't really think of it as confidence when I posted it. It was more just, oh, I'm going to, fuck it. This scares me. And I want to do what scares me, because every time I do something that scares me, I grow from it and I learn from it. And ultimately, the reason that I posted that photo is because it was what I needed to hear. Those reminders that I put underneath it were things that I needed to remind myself, like, your weight doesn't matter, that you are your world leading expert on your own body, and you decide what feels good for you and what feels right for you. And so all of it is a reminder to myself. And that photo is just kind of like, this is what I need to do. Like, this is what I need to put out there. It feels good. I feel like this is gonna help other people because I know it would help me right now. And then when I was thinking more about confidence in relation to that photo, and I was like, well, I mean, I guess that is confidence in a way, is, deciding not to care anymore is in of itself a different kind of confidence than I was used to growing up. I think up until recent years, my confidence was more of this like insecure confidence. It's the type of confidence where you're like, yeah, I'm confident. And like, you just really put it out there so that people see you as confident, whether or not you actually are internally. And it's kind of that projection and like overcompensating confidence where it's like, I'm going to throw it in your face that I'm this confident, because actually deeply I am struggling and insecure. But it was kind of like this thick layer of confidence to make up for all of the things that I was feeling internally. And I think the issue with the insecure type of confidence is that a lot of the times you don't look inward and you don't decide, okay, what's the actual problem here? It's not necessarily confidence or pretending to be confident. It's, it's that I don't like myself. It's that I think that the only way I can like myself is if I lose weight. And it's that, I feel like there's something wrong with myself. And in the last 2 years, especially, but especially in the last year, I've been working on, all right, what's actually going on? And like, why am I actually struggling? What is missing? What do I need to fix? And because of that, it's come with this calm sort of confidence, this secure type of confidence where I don't necessarily look for affirmation outside of myself as much as I used to, and as much as that insecure confidence made me do. And for like in an insecure place, I would have posted that picture hoping people would tell me, no, you're not fat. No, you're not. You look perfect. Like, I would have been looking for the type of affirmation that I wasn't what I was saying I was, or I needed people to tell me you're beautiful, and now this photo came from a place of security, of calm, of like, this is what I need to do for myself, and I think it will help other people, as opposed to like, please tell me I'm pretty kind of, insecurity. So yeah, it is, it's interesting, and it's a much calmer place to be with this different type of confidence, but it's definitely not something I don't struggle with. Like, I definitely still struggle with like, oh God, are people gonna think I'm totally insane for posting this? But what's different is now I see that and I'm like, well, they can think I'm crazy. Like, this is what I need and this feels good and I'm gonna do it anyway. So, yeah.
It's really brave, and I absolutely admire you for doing it, because I like to think I'm quite confident in myself and the way I look, and I'm quite at peace with that.
but I'm not sure I'd be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely paused. I was like, wow. I text my sister actually, and I was like, can I send you a couple of naked photos of me and you can tell me if like it's crazy for me to post this? And she was just like, yeah, sure, why not? And so I did. I sent her like, I was like, excuse me, as I send you a bunch of naked photos of myself. And we picked out our favorite, which was the one that I posted. And then I was like, do you think I'll ever like struggle getting a job because I posted this? And she was just like, yeah. She's like, if you do, you don't want to work for him anyway, because ultimately the blog brings me so much joy that like I wouldn't want to stop doing it just because of really anything. So yeah.
What sort of reaction did you have from people when you posted that?
I honestly just got applause. It was like, yes, like I needed to hear this. Like, thank you. Like, this is what I wanted right now. And it was really awesome because it was like a lot of people who had never commented before or who had never messaged me before. They went for it and they were like, thank you for posting that. Like, I needed to see that. I needed to hear that. So it was really awesome and exciting to, see a positive reaction from that. And, a couple of people even shared it and was like, what does everyone else think about this whole body positivity idea? And it was cool to see like the conversation that was started because of that. And it was just kind of like, yes, screw diet industry. Everyone post photos of yourself.
It kind of made me think, because I was thinking more about it this morning. I saw your photo and instantly I thought, wow, like you look stunning, beautiful, and so confident in your body and how you're wearing your own skin,
which is
great.
But
there's so many images online of other girls who are maybe not necessarily naked, but not wearing a lot, and they get a lot of negative opinions of them, and that's still got hurt them, like no matter how they feel about themselves and they're confident enough to be able to do that, there's still that sort of negative connotation, and I always like to think I'm quite open and not judgmental. But I thought, you know what? I've never commented on one of their photos to say, wow, you look beautiful. But yet on yours, I was like, wow, she looks beautiful.
Well, thanks.
So it's sort of in my head, I was like, wow, okay. Whether you are a size 0 or whether you're a size 10 or 20, whatever size you are, you're beautiful from within out. And when you're comfortable in yourself, that's what makes you beautiful, isn't it? Because then you're projecting that yourself.
Yeah.
So it definitely made me think about, obviously, I was like, wow, maybe I should be complimenting more people.
There you go. I like it. That would be great. I would love it if everybody, just because of it, was like, you know what, I need to engage more. And even I personally, like I follow tons of body positive women of all shapes and sizes, and I try to make an effort to actually read what they're posting and encourage them as well, because there are a lot of trolls out there. I mean, especially when you're in the space of posting a body that is not in mainstream what's beautiful, you're almost asking for someone to troll you, and it is brave because ultimately, like, you're deciding, hey, I know that this is what mainstream culture is asking for, but this is what I'm going to post anyway because I want other people to know, like, they are perfect the way that they are. But I think the more that we share what humanity is and outside of what magazines and the culture tells us we're supposed to look like, it can be so much. There would be less eating disorders, and there would be less people hating themselves, and there'd be less spending ridiculous amounts of money on the latest diet craze. And so, yes, go out there and support. Clean up your feed too. I feel like that's the piece of advice that I want to give the most, is that what you see every day, day in and day out, is what you're going to start to believe. So if you only see these models who are, there's the whole premise around body positivity is everybody's a good body. So it's like diversifying your feed and remembering that there are people who are beautiful regardless of their size, and everyone has a good body if they have a body, has been really helpful for me. Like, I don't follow, it used to be when, prior to finding body positivity, my Instagram account and my Facebook pages and everything that I'd follow was like Fitspiration, or like, the stuff that makes you feel bad about yourself. Like, oh, this one physical trainer or personal trainer, and like, I would follow those thinking like, oh, this will motivate me and this will keep me on track. And really all that did was make me feel bad about myself. Like, all it would is make me like, oh, look at, they're doing planks and I'm sitting at home watching Netflix. Like, there's something wrong with me. Why am I not doing it? Well, sometimes you need to sit at home and watch Netflix. Like, that's okay. And so, yeah, like, there's nothing wrong with doing that. And the thing too is you're only seeing this highlight. You're only seeing this one little blip from the one time that they went to the gym. And it's like, you have no idea what they're going through mentally. You have no idea what they're going through for the rest of their life. So my advice to anybody who's like, oh man, I'd really like to have a little bit more confidence in myself, or I'd really like to be a little bit more body positive, is to follow what makes you feel good. Don't follow what makes you wish you were different. And so my feed on my Instagram and on my Facebook page is just only people who like make me feel good.
Yeah, I love that. That's a really good tip, actually, because I hate to see, I went through a time myself probably about 10 years ago when I was like, oh, I'm too fat, I need to lose weight. And just like you said, all of a sudden all these targeted advertising starts coming up about buying these special pills that are going to make you tiny and get yourself to the gym and join this class and this class. But that didn't make me happy as much as I was working my butt off for it. And I lost weight. Don't get me wrong, I really think other people might perceive that I look better in the beginning. But to myself, it didn't make me feel better. It just made me feel tired that I was exercising all the time and I didn't have any time to do anything else.
Right. Well,
So
that's
it's
the
not
thing.
really...
That's the thing too, is like the people who are posting, that was what I was going to say earlier, but I got on a rant, is people who are posting things that say, hey, I love my body, even though I know it's not perfect according to Western standards of beauty. It's brave because so many people decide to comment and say, well, as long as you're healthy. And it's like, whoa. Number one, you have no idea based off of one photo how healthy I am. Number two, that's super ableist. What about people who deal with chronic illnesses? What about people who are disabled? What about people like, it's such a narrow mindset. And number three, what about mentally healthy? Like, you cannot tell me that you can judge my mental health and my physical health based off of one photo that I post. And so I definitely, I applaud the women who decide to do that as well and post, those scary photos where you're going to get trolled by people who are like, well, what about being healthy?
But also on the flip side, just because you're slim or you seem to be the right size doesn't mean that you're healthy either.
Correct.
You could be that size because you decide not to eat. You could be that size because you make yourself sick after you eat. You don't know what goes on. Just because somebody looks slim, that doesn't mean they're healthy inside. It certainly doesn't mean they're healthy up here. Not at all.
Exactly. So everyone can mind their own business when it comes to deciding to judge other people's health.
What do you think holds people back? Because obviously we're having this really frank conversation and you're in that place where you're like, okay, yeah, I'm just going to say fuck it to the world, it doesn't matter. And I'm pretty much, I'd say I'm almost there with that part of it. But what do you think is the thing that holds people back the most? Because I know what I think it is, but what do you think?
I mean, it's the culture, like it's society. I mean, everywhere you turn, there is something telling you you're not okay as you are. There is something telling you so normalized to be on a diet, especially as a woman. It is so normalized to make that your ultimate goal. And it's like, well, I used to work with some very powerful women in the medical industry, and there'd be women who were like starting their own businesses and starting their own foundations. And when I talked, I'd have to interview them for different articles and things like that. And when I'd ask them what their biggest goal in life, I had multiple women tell me that their biggest goal in life was to lose 20 pounds. And I was like, I'm going to take a wild guess that if I asked, and actually every time I asked a man that question, that was never on their agenda of biggest goals. And I was just like, you just told me that you're going to start a foundation in a couple of years. And you just then told me on the flip side that your biggest goal in life is to lose 20 pounds. Like, you're so much better than that. You are so much smarter than that. You have so many better things to be doing than to be worrying about like your weight. And like, you're like, it's just mind blowing to me. It takes up so much space, but it's normalized. It's like, it's odd if you don't subscribe to it. It's odd if you like how you look. It's odd if you're okay. You don't even have to like it. You can just say, I accept myself as I look. And that is not the norm. So, I mean, the older I get, the more I realize, like, I am not the problem. It is society.
Yeah.
And it is the industry that is making bajillions of dollars approximately on women's insecurities and creating insecurities in people so that they can then sell you a solution. So I think that's the biggest problem. What would you say is the biggest problem, or what holds people back?
I was thinking along the lines of similar, but fear of judgment.
Yeah.
That actual fear of just going, do you know what? If I don't lose weight, then people are going to judge me for it. If I put on a few pounds, people are going to judge me for that.
Right.
If I go to the gym and my gym clothes are too tight, people are going to feel me for that. So whatever you do, you can never be right, because somebody's going to have an opinion on it. And although opinions are never wrong because they're personal to the person, they just might be really ill-informed opinions that should never have come out of their mouth in the first place.
Yeah, well, and I definitely, like, I still struggle with that fear of judgment, but that little voice that tells me right before I post something, like, oh, your friends might think you're weird, or, oh, you know, people are going to troll you. That voice has become so much smaller than the voice within me that knows that that's bullshit and I'm going to do it anyway. And I think that takes practice. And that is like learning how to not care what other people think is really hard, because we're wired to need to care what other people think in order to survive. But it's not necessarily, you don't need to worry about what people think about you anymore in order to survive. And because of that, you have to retrain yourself. And I mean, even growing up as a kid, everyone's trained to fit in. And relearning that, it takes work, and it takes constant reminders of, okay, I recognize that thought that just told me that I need to lose weight in order to fit in, or I need to go on a diet as soon as the new year hits because that's what everybody else is doing. You have to like take a step back and be like, oh, that thought is coming from a place that isn't actually me. Like that thought is coming from the diet and fitness industry that is trying to sell me a cleanse on January 1st. Like that thought is coming from other people's opinions, and actually that really hurts me. So I'm just gonna ignore it. And it's constant like dividing that within yourself and saying, like, even with anxiety and depression, I have to label my thoughts in order to better manage them. So if it's like, I get a thought that comes in and is like, oh my God, what if I can't do it? What if it's like, even before this Facebook Live, it's like, oh God, what if I say the wrong things or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, that's anxiety talking. That's not Chloe talking. Like, we're just gonna push that aside and keep going. And learning that you can have those thoughts, and it's okay to have those thoughts, but learning that you can have those thoughts and deciding I'm not going to listen to those thoughts, that's the most powerful thing. And it takes practice. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to not listen to my thoughts anymore and then it never happens again. Like, you just have to recognize, like, it's okay to have those thoughts and to say no.
Yeah.
And definitely, this is why I wanted to do this live before Christmas, because with Christmas coming up, you've already posted saying, you know, don't feel bad over Christmas. If you want to eat something, you know, it doesn't matter, enjoy Christmas. But then also don't cry into the pressure of January, like you said, when you start seeing all these diet pills coming up again and all the gym memberships that got, don't feel like you have to go down that route. The only important thing is to make sure that you're happy, your mind's happy. And happy body, happy mind, you know, that's it. You don't need to go on silly diets or anything like that. You just need to eat the way that you want to eat that makes you feel good.
Yeah, well, and we're not really trained to listen to our bodies. I mean, from the time that we're kids, people are telling us, like, oh, clean your plate, be a part of the clean plate club. And so it's like, from an early age, it's set up against you. Like, the society has set things up against you and your relationship with your body. And it takes a lot of, like, don't feel bad about the fact that it takes a lot of time to untangle those things. And it is really, really hard to not fall back into the culture. And that was the thing, you know, I've been on this journey for a while now. And so even posting those reminders was like, I need these too. Like, even though I am posting naked photos of myself, I still need these reminders. I'm not immune to the industry that tells me that I'm not enough, and the culture that tells me I'm not enough. And then, you know, everybody's at this time of year, everybody's talking about the morals of food choices, of like, oh God, that's so bad, I shouldn't eat this. And it's like, you need to be reminded, like, no, you can have that. You can do what you want.
Yeah.
Like, no one else can tell you what's good or bad for you.
Yeah.
It's definitely
And
complicated.
I really like this analogy. So I've got a friend, and a couple of weeks ago she posted a picture up on Facebook, and she's lost an awful lot of weight over the last 4 months. And everyone was posting saying, well, you look so beautiful, you look really good. What they don't know is there's a medical reason why she's lost that much weight. So they're congratulating her. That's not really what she wants to hear right now. So she actually wrote a post with a before and after photo. So this was me a couple of months ago. This is what I look like now. And she did hashtag mental health, hashtag it's okay to not be okay, and said to people, I'm not well, this is why this is happening. So you might think I look better, but actually I thought I looked perfectly right in the first place.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I think it is that kind of wake up call. People, like, it's so normal to post, you know, when I was growing up, I struggled with anorexia really, really bad. And when I think it was late middle school, the more weight I lost, the more compliments I got. And even though I was struggling so deeply, it was encouragement to keep going. And I really think now when I see stuff, or when people talk about their weight loss journey, or they talk about, you know, losing weight in general, I have like a set of responses that I'm like, all right, this is how I'm like, either I'll change the subject and I'll try not to engage in the diet talk because I don't think it's helpful to anybody. And also I'm kind of bored of the conversation. But usually what I'll do is I'll just be like, I'm just happy you're happy. Whatever makes you feel good, I'm happy for. But like, know that you don't need to change how you look to be happy. And like, and it's probably annoying because people probably want me to be like, oh yeah, awesome, how'd you do it? But it's, when I was going through that, that was what kept me going into a really disordered place for my relationship with myself and my relationship with eating. So,
yeah.
And I don't know about you, but very similar to a long time ago when I was a teenager, the whole anorexia thing, there's a lot of websites out there that I was researching and looking at that I really shouldn't have been looking at. And there's people out there supporting people with that. And that's not losing weight or body confidence to make you feel good, because it never makes you feel good, because you're always striving to, I want to lose more weight, I want to lose more weight, because you're never going to look good in your eyes. And it just scares me now, looking back on it, how many people are supporting other people who are literally killing themselves.
Right. Luckily, I think now, I think there's a much larger awareness of eating disorders now, which I think is good. And I also think now, back then, I had never heard of body positivity. I had never even heard of somebody loving themselves if they were fat. Like, I had never even, that was bad, thin was good. That was all I could even comprehend when I was 12 years old. And now it's like, we really need to keep elevating the body positive community, and the reminder that, okay, there are different types of bodies in the world, and no one body type is better than another. And so I think that there's still a lot of work to be done, because there are still people who have never even heard of body positivity or heard of this idea that you can love yourself as you are. But it's nice to see that we are headed in that direction. I think even with, you know, like Target having disabled people in their advertisements, as well as people of all different body sizes, and all different, it's more diverse now. And I think that's really a good thing. And I hope to see that continuing, at least here in the States.
I saw something on Facebook, and they got an image of a woman, and they sent it to different magazine companies in the world, and they've got them to Photoshop it to see what she would look like to be attractive in their country. And it's so interesting to see how some of them made her slimmer, some of them made her larger. You know, it is, whatever culture it is, they all had a different definition of what was beautiful. And it just really amazes me, because I know there's certain countries that really like curvaceous women, so a lot of their women are more curvaceous. But then you'll go to other countries, like the UK, where you'll see these catwalk models, and it's really, really like
skinny, and it just doesn't really make sense how it could be so different.
Well, and it just goes to show you that the only person whose opinion matters is your own, because like it's such a wide, I mean, it doesn't matter. Like being beautiful to someone else doesn't matter, because all it matters is your own opinion. Because and just this idea of beauty being the thing that we have to go for, and the thing that is the most important thing, that needs to be disassembled as well. And realizing, like, no, you have a lot more to offer than just like looking pretty, and unfair pressure that women have on them versus the pressure that men have on them to be perfect. And that is a growing pressure for men as well. It's like, okay, we need to stop focusing so much on this. And I think we're much farther away from not focusing on beauty anymore than we are understanding that there's a lot of different types of beauty. But you know, there's a lot of different layers of society and the issues that play into eating disorders and mental health problems in relation to body image, confidence, even anxiety and depression. So, but slowly but surely, we're chipping away at it.
Do you think we'll ever get to a place where everyone feels happy about it and people can accept it? Or?
You know, I would like to say yes, but I have no idea. I hope so. I think we're headed that way. And I think that if we continue to make these strides and to stop being tolerant of shaming, you know, I think when we're moderate about, you know, like, oh, well, everybody can have their own opinion. Well, it's like, yeah, but keep that shit to yourself. Like, you don't need to, like, no, you are wrong. Like you putting down another person because of their weight or their size or their ability to even function in a daily society, or stigmatizing someone because of their mental health, like there's no gray area there. Like, no, that is wrong. And so being comfortable in saying that and speaking out against the bullshit, I think, is what we have to do to get there. Will we ever get there? Whew, that's a really great question, but probably not in my lifetime. But I feel like if we keep making these strides, we're setting up the next generation to be more accepting and to be more diverse, or to be more accepting of diversity, and to understand, like, there are so many other ways to exist in this world than what the media tells us is the only way to exist in the world.
Definitely.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm hopeful. I don't want to turn down anybody who's hopeful that they'll see it in this lifetime. You know what I mean?
I'd love it to. I would love people to be confident and comfortable with themselves.
Right.
I do have a lot of self-doubt that it's going to happen.
I mean, all you can do is do it for yourself. And then, you know, that is an example in of itself, is choosing to be body confident and choosing to accept yourself. I'm not even saying you have to love yourself, but you can at least accept yourself. And that is a step in the right direction. And it's a step in denying the shit that we're fed every day and being told that we're not enough. So, yeah.
I know you've given us a few little tips, but for anyone who's watching that's kind of thinking, you know what, I want to start accepting myself, what the body that I've got, what would the top tips you think you say, you know, they can start to do?
So that one, I'm going to repeat it, is follow what makes you feel good. Don't follow the stuff that you feel like you need in order to change yourself. And I'm actually writing there's a blog post coming this week about some of my favorite accounts and things and tips and things. So watch out for that. That'll have a bunch of like actual specifics, but I can leave some in the comments too. Like, my favorites are Body Posi Panda. She actually wrote a book called Body Positive Power, and that's on my reading list. I haven't gotten it yet, but it is available in the UK, and it just became available in the United States. But she's a great one. She's super just positive about it all too. And then I'd also say the Militant Baker. Her book, Things No One Will Tell Fat Girls, that introduced me to body positivity. I had never even heard of it. And I read it like once a year now. So I would say start following accounts that are different from what the narrow beauty standard Western ideal is. Start following a diverse array of accounts and diversify your feed. And with that too, is I would say unfollow everything that makes you feel bad.
Yeah.
Unfollow anything, even if and this is, I've said this before too, and I don't know how people feel about it, but if you know someone and you're friends with them in real life, but their social media account makes you feel bad, unfollow them, like, or mute them, or stop watching it, because there's no reason for you to put yourself in a bad place just because you're friends with them in real life. Like, but their highlight reel is different. You know, it's okay to do what you need to do to feel okay. So that's a huge one, and that's been a huge one for me, is to unfollow accounts. And I would say also get rid of your scale. Don't ever freaking weigh yourself, because it doesn't matter. You can tell your doctor that you don't want to weigh yourself unless there's a medical reason to weigh yourself, especially if it's triggering for you. I stopped weighing myself because it was like, you know what, this stupid number will make or break my day. Why would I let something as stupid as a number that changes on a daily basis determine how I'm going to live my life that day? And so throw it out, smash it, or like get one of the body positive ones that give you like positive affirmations of like, you're awesome, you're doing great, but like, don't weigh yourself. Like, there's no point. And give up. I would honestly say give up. Like, you have to give up dieting. You have to stop buying into it. And there's some really great literature out there about it. Health at Every Size, or Health at, I have it on my desk, like right here. Health at Every Size. Here, this book right here. I highly recommend it to everybody who's interested in giving up on the diet culture. It's by Linda Bacon, and it just kind of goes into the science, and it breaks down all the different ways that we are told health is determined, and it shows you how, well, they say, you know, that fat causes, like, it decreases your life expectancy, but actually there's been a lot of studies that show that it actually increases your life expectancy. And so it just kind of flips everything that we know about the diet and fitness industry on its head. And it's a really great book that introduces people into intuitive eating as well, which is just listening to when you're hungry and eating when you're hungry. So yeah, those I think would be my biggest ones. And mindfulness meditation has been really helpful for me in terms of not listening to thoughts that I don't need, and to like actually take a look at the thoughts and say, I'm going to pick that thought, but I'm not going to listen to this one, and like moving on. So some apps that I use are Headspace and Insight Timer, which is awesome. It's like a social media platform for people who meditate. So it's like a ton of free meditations, and it's really great. So yeah, I think those are probably my top tips.
Okay, cool. All right, well, thank you for coming on. Was there anything else you wanted to add to it, what we talked about?
No, I don't think so. Just know that, like, even though I seem really confident, I still struggle too. I don't want anybody to think that I have it all figured out. And thank you so much for having me. This has been really exciting talking about this, and this is my first Facebook Live experience, so thanks, guys.
Oh, really?
Hopefully it wasn't too terrible.
Well, thank you for being so honest about it all. And I really urge anyone that's watching now, you'll put your handles down in the comments, won't you, so they can find you and follow you, because there's some really useful bits that you guys will love to have a read of, because you'll be able to relate as much as I do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you can find me at clobare.com, which is CLOBARE.com, and then all my handles, I'll post it in the comments.
Yeah, cool.
Awesome.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
And I'm sure we'll see you soon.
All right, sounds good.
You can come back and we'll do another one sometime.
Absolutely, that sounds great. All
All right, lovely.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.